played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Yeah. Boom today, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual part of this collectoma. Welcome to the OMSR Gen 5.0. Brief but very concise host, Will the Alternative ESPN Sports. Doing the intro show thing-a-ling-a-majing. Snapshots of brief example of some of the stuff coming up on this particular episode. Put together a bunch of stuff from spring football reviews. Could not get to them all, but I focused on Big Ten and Ohio State, Michigan, all that. I always tell who's kind of into the president or not. Check that one out when it comes up. Dudes in the background. What the heck's going on here with the MSU suddenly tour de force up in Michigan? A little bit of Notre Dame action going on there, old school style, back in the day when the Big Ten was the Big Ten, not the B1G, B14, what are we supposed to call it out? Did you hear about this? Good old fraternity pranks. Yeah, wholesome fraternity pranks back in the day. Peyton, oh no, they didn't have action on the statue there. Alright, got Dwayne Darn That's Ultimate Sportsman, the OMSR mascots. And a few of the Pi Kappa Alpha styled OMSR house cheerleader leaders, calling them. Not some house sweetheart. But you know, my focus has been on college sports from the word go. And with all the bad press coming out, rightfully so, bad juju, and during the past couple of news cycles, I sort of scaled it back a little bit. But for our part, True Pike, UU, University of Utah, and all those fraternities. All the fraternities there on site, for that matter. Nothing bad going down. No. You must conduct yourself with class and dignity at all times. I always remind my subs and repeat viewers. Yeah, thought I'd bring in a little bit of Baltimore going on there. Some good stuff. Beautiful Baltimore. Yeah. I had to do a double take there for a second because I was like, wow. In a good way. You always keep it respect. And it exemplifies, you know, those taking charge and not letting a few bad apples ruin it for everybody or mischaracterize the city or allow the media to do that. You gotta have like activities, positive activities is what was going on here to distract from those who were trying to start things up. All right. Yeah, again, focus on Ohio State. So meet me over here on the other side to the main feature of Gen 5.0, which is the Will in a Box. Down here in the corner, chime in a little bit, give you part of the highlights, the bulk of which come after. First part one, till we get to the segue for the quickie sport rant of the segment, which on this particular episode is going to be the much vaunted, I had this vision quest years ago. How do you get three kick-ass quarterbacks on the field at the same time and run the offense? The TQO. With regard to Ohio State, because they all got it going on, they've all stayed put, it would be the most indefensible offense ever with a guy who already unveiled that kind of a similar scheme that yours truly is all that's the U, University of Utah. There are 3 U's. It's not Miami. Yeah, I just got that going on in the background. It's just a little reminder to all of us. Don't make such umbrella statements when the situation is still fluid.
Officers think they get away with anything, but also scared to death in some cases. Right. There's all these factors.
You always put them guilty.
I think it's really, I look back at the 60s, there's some things here that we have some hope for. It's nice to see some white people in the street protesting this. They never would have seen that during the riots in '68. This is not as violent as it was in the 60s, but I think April has hit it right on the head. This is not just about Freddie Gray at this point. This is about economics.
Activities. We're all just people. You celebrate ethnic differences in a good way. You don't use it to make distinctions on, well, he's kind of jerky, but he's after all Persian. No. No, until we can move past all of that, these things may continue. All right, so I just want to thank you, Howard Dean, for bailing me out. He's great. He would have made it as president, especially after that meltdown he had in New Hampshire, but he's very, like, in his Vermont kind of way. All right, let's get the clips going here from, again, I'm not sure how we're supposed to refer to this, the Big Ten, the B1G is their iconography. Still call it Big 14, bringing in Rutgers and Maryland. That makes no sense whatsoever. This conference realignment nonsense that happened, it was all predicated on the BCS, and now we're stuck with this kind of a mess still. I'm still annoyed about it. I've been ranting on that when I get a chance these last 3 years.
Recruiting news.
I'll be quiet.
Forthcoming a little bit later on in this spring blitz. We'll talk to Brian Bennett, Big Ten reporter, coming up in a few moments. And we'll look at some of the top linebackers for next week's NFL draft coming out of school. But we focus on the Big Ten Conference today, at least for a short time, and some of the top storylines. Ohio State coming off a national title. The Buckeyes were supposed to be the defending champs next season, Ludes.
Yeah, they're ahead of schedule. I think Urban Meyer would even tell you that, having seen them this spring up close.
If you're Urban Meyer, you know how you've seen each quarterback in this quarterback race perform in a game. What are the factors that are going to lead him to an ultimate decision here in the fall?
Yeah, who runs the team best? Not who has the best mechanics, who throws the ball the furthest, who's the fastest, none of that stuff matters. What matters is how well does the team perform when he's under center? And the answer to that is J.T. Barrett. And I think he does the full game. So he can handle the run game well, he can get out of the pocket, and he's accurate with the football. And if he's the same J.T. Barrett as he was a year ago, and I anticipate that he will be, I would think it's going to end up being his job.
Heisman Trophy contender there at season's end, kind of under the radar, as most stories are when there's a quarterback competition going on. This defense, which was very good last season, just as good or better this year?
Should be better. They have a lot of experience. Here's the thing that you can't measure. They just won a national championship. And so what happens with guys when they think they're pretty good, and then they know they're pretty good? It's a difference. And so you walk onto the field now, and you're standing pretty tall. And you know what you can do, you know what you're capable of, and you know what the guy beside you can do. That makes a big difference. Confidence changes everything, especially at the collegiate level.
Last year, time and again, had to prove people wrong. This year, they have to prove people right. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you've got 3 quarterbacks like that. Forget about competition. We have a little animation that comes up here in a sec. The TQO. It's like the main things you would be there's always going to be one of the QBs. I'm talking all 3 of them. I thought to myself years ago when I came up with this scheme. It's like a reverse within a reverse within a reverse. Trojan horse of a kind of a virus. There's always motion at play, but there's never misdirection, because the misdirection is constantly part of the equation. Doesn't have to be designed that way. It's just sort of inherent to the flow. It's indefensible. March right down the field every time. Well, maybe not. All right, I'm not going to be so bold as to say, I who have never coached but did play a little bit. All right, so as promised, got some overhead shots. It's 3 plays the way I see it. Basically come out of the same formation, with slight variations on tight end and flanker position. You could always substitute one of the QBs for the second coming of Maurice Claret, but as I envision it, the second tight end makes use of historically one of Ohio State's strengths. Starts the 3 overhead shots, and we're going to go through a click by click at key moments, breaks it down slowly, and then the whole thing. All right, since it gets a 3-4 defense, 4-3, and roll it. Try to simulate some defensive motion realistically. The scale may be a scotch off. The speed's pretty much spot on. So you got 2 options on either side of the field pretty much all the time. Little step back, jab, step back 3, for the QB. The crowd goes wild at the horseshoe. All right, so here it comes full speed. Keep in mind, you know, the action going up top. It's not so much a pick play that's being run here, more like the rub. Pick play is cheating. Trying to use your teammate to bump into your defender. The rub play is you get the defenders to trip each other up. You get the idea there. I wouldn't necessarily be that close to the end. This is my first one. I got a little better at this particular application. Never used this before. First time. All right, second play. You got the 3-4 defense. You got your outside linebackers, kind of typical spot. Match it up with the wingbacks. Two flankers down at the bottom. Think of it as it's like, even when I was trying to figure out realistic motion, you know, simulating-wise, the safeties, it's like, where do I go? There's no one, it's no direct correlation. It gets tricky on the defensive side. Now, this is a devastating formation right here, this range of motion. Check it out. Because I envision at least 10 to 12 different plays coming out of this formation. Out of the pistol, got your under center, pistol, and traditional shotgun. This is designed to sneak the quarterback out in case bottom option there was not available. Linebacker takes a bad angle. He's keeping his eye on his assignment. There's no cornerback over there. Multiple options for Cardell there. But any one of the three can make that throw. And if that's not available, you just whip, follow the lead blocker. That being the QB. But you know, it's going to put pressure on the defense. You can't be as rough because you got three QBs running around on defense. You can't play rough defense typically. All right, now here's the alternate formation with the tight end substituting one of the wingbacks. I like this play too. Now check out the wide splits on the tackles, running pass routes in a way not ever done before. Pardon my mouse action from earlier. Zoom, zoom. They going between the tackles like that. Never see receivers do that. Linebackers, oh, do I go left? Do I go right? Ah, too late. Here it comes in real time. Now, granted, I didn't simulate every single defensive player at every key moment. I was gauging this in 2.5 to 5 second increments. It started to get mad at me with 50 different motion paths to keep track of. But you get the idea. You know, the tight ends are always chipping down. They're going to stay in and run block. They're going to go out. That's the key. Formations are very similar, kind of insidious from a defensive point of view. The wide splits, as I mentioned, would be part of the scheme. I realize that some of this is, you know, with the guard center, what I'm trying to simulate there is it's very tight end through there. The only gaps there will be is between the tackles to the tight end, but that's by scheme. Because if it's a quick handoff to one of the QBs, QB number 2, QB 1, lead QB, getting the ball, boom. You cut right in. Also run pass routes that way. Never been done. And finally, you know, with your QBs all there at once, you can sort of get a feel for maybe who's having the best game. Certainly who may be having the worst game. You can avoid that one Saturday of the year where the QB, man on point, has a bad Saturday or a bad game. We've all seen it happen to the schools we boost for, great teams we remember in the past. And again, you have the second coming of Maurice Claret, running wild. I would not pretend to suggest to Urban Meyer how to do that. All right. So a week later, I got these done, 3 hours each. I'm being modest there. I actually told you how much time it took. You'd laugh. Why would you bother with that, pro bono? Well, because I committed to it. I always follow through. But I would not do this again anytime soon. That's why no one's ever done this before in terms of the management style to be combined with snapshots of how the formations look over the field. But it would be devastating to have all your plays done like this. And also analyze plays that went well or went bad over the past week. All right. Bulk of the highlights coming up. Thanks for watching. Those silly DUIs while you're out there reminding you sports and alcohol. They are joining the little Freddie Gray.
Michigan State now firmly established as big brother to Michigan's little brother. They've beaten the Wolverines 6 of the last 7, 11 or more wins in 4 of the last 5 seasons for Mark D'Antonio. We know they're losing some talent, but they just always seem to be in reload mode now that the culture is firmly established there. Look at that. Win percentage since 2008. Yeah, head-to-head, no issues. Look at those 11-win seasons. This program is on such solid footing. What's the next step now for Michigan State?
Well, 2 things have gotten them there. Playing a lot of players for their rotational depth, and then developing that depth without having to play a lot of freshmen early. If you look at a Michigan State football team under Mark D'Antonio, very few times have they taken the field, had a bunch of wide-eyed rookies stepping on the field. They have developed and brought players along at the proper rate, and then they play an awful lot of players on both sides of the football. So that gives you those multiple double-digit win seasons. Where do you continue to go from here? Well, I can tell you right now, a big piece of that puzzle was getting Connor Cook back. You can start over in a lot of areas on a roster. One of them that you don't want to start over on is quarterback. When you have to do that, it changes the rest of your football team as well. However, conversely, you got a quarterback returning, that can mask a lot of other deficient areas at other positions while you continue to bring that portion of the football team along. So, listen, you have tremendous amount of respect for this program. Everybody who plays them does. You know what you're going to get out of them, and you better buckle your chin strap when you play a Mark D'Antonio coach team, because they're going to be a tough bunch of guys.
Shalik Calhoun also back on the defensive line for Michigan State, but they lose their defensive coordinator in Pat Narduzzi. So what are the Spartans going to learn in their life after Narduzzi?
I think the philosophical identity will be the same, because I think it's become part of their temperament. Narduzzi's temperament was drawn from Mark D'Antonio, who's got a defensive background. That has now permeated throughout the staff. A lot of cohesion and consistency with the staff. You don't have a lot of turnover, so I think there will be a smooth transition.
Cornerback Trey Waynes is gone. Safety Curtis Drummond as well. And no fly zone. We'll see how much flyover there is for Michigan State. Saturday at the luxurious practice field. Some construction, some work going on at Notre Dame. So crammed in, 4,000 fans there to watch this quarterback competition. Everett Golson, 7 of 15 for 83 yards, had that rushing touchdown as well. And Malik Zaire was 8 of 14 passing, couple of touchdowns, including a long one to Will Fuller. The guy's got an arm, Matt Miller.
Not a bad arm, and he's pretty accurate. The difference between the two is Golson's played and has the experience, seen the live bullets, been in the big games. I would think that would give him the push.
Golson, of course, leading the team to the national championship game a few seasons ago. Zaire has yet to attempt his 40th collegiate pass. Again, some news and notes from the spring game there. You see Golson and Zaire, their numbers. Running back, they assume they have an answer there. C.J. Procise, one of them. Folston is there as well. Maybe Greg Bryant gets into the mix. Highly touted coming out of high school as well. But the focus on the quarterbacks. Brian Kelly afterwards.
Everett and Malik played well, did very good things. Malik probably made one poor decision putting the ball up for grabs, but neither one of them turned the football over. Everett tried to force a ball late in the third quarter. Other than that, I thought their judgment was excellent. The zone read game was strong. Decisions that they made were excellent, so really pleased with them.
You mentioned the live action, live bullets that we've seen Everett Golson face over the last few years. As a coach, how do you decide whether to go with the known quantity or the guy you haven't seen as much of, but you see him shine in practice and in settings like that?
Well, he'd really have to jump way out in front of the other guy. So the bottom line is this. Coaches love predictability. You want to be able to have a guy say, you know what, I've seen him in this situation. I know how he's going to react. He'll do this. That's what you want. You don't want to say, you know what, I'm not quite sure what's going to happen when the live bullets start flying. That's not a good position to be in. That's why I think that Golson has the edge right now.
And sometimes you thought you knew what you'd get from Golson last season, goes into the desert, Arizona State, has a few turnovers there again, something he has to shore up. Ball security is job security.
Yeah, there's no question. And he wasn't the only guy to go out there and take a dive.
We'll see what happens coming up this fall again. And that defense, overshadowed with the job they have to do. Schmidt, the linebacker, coming back as well, trying to get healthy there. Including from nearby Penn State. That's where we'll turn our attention here. Penn State, James Franklin, year 2 forthcoming, just 7-6, kind of buoyed a little bit by that BC win over BC in the bowl game. And Christian Hackenberg ended the season on a good note. What happens now here for Penn State?
The entire goal for Penn State is to keep Hackenberg upright. I think Christian Hackenberg is a first-round draft choice, maybe an early entry first-round draft choice. They've got to be able to protect him. You adapt to new personnel, adapt to a new offensive scheme a year ago with a makeshift offensive line, and there's going to be some struggles up front once again. That's why the onus is going to be on Christian Hackenberg to really understand the game, know that offense in and out, so he can help the offensive line with timing and anticipation by getting the ball out of his hands.
They had just 2 starters returning on that offensive line entering last season. Now they've got 4 offensive line starters returning here. That will help.
Depth. That's the problem.
44 sacks they gave up last season, tied for 121st in the FBS out of 125 teams. And you look at Hackenberg again over the last couple of seasons, and a new coaching staff. That can't be lost on that as well. That's a transition for Hackenberg.
Absolutely. Big transition. You look at I think it's going to start off fairly well for Penn State in the early going of this schedule. In fact, you go through the October 10th game, you could argue you'd have an undefeated Penn State team going into Ohio State. Not saying that's going to happen.
Spring Blitz, according to Tom Lugaville, who just so happens to be with us on set. In fact, newcomers in the Big Ten.
Yeah, expect L.J. Scott to be a perfect fit for the identity of Michigan State. Brian Cole's already in school at Michigan. I think he'll play an awful lot at the receiver position. And I never, ever underestimate the evaluation of a Minnesota-coached team by Jerry Kill. They're going to get some more weapons on offense with a shot still.
See, L.J. Scott, some big shoes to fill with Jeremy Langford, now departed to the NFL out of Michigan State. Some other Big Ten programs looking to replace highly acclaimed and accomplished running backs: Wisconsin, Nebraska, Indiana with Tevin Coleman. So which program is best suited to replace?
Wisconsin, without question. I think Corey Clement's got an opportunity to be a dynamic difference maker, a load carrier, more of a physical downhill between the tackles runner than Melvin Gordon was. Now, might not have that home run, sudden lateral agility, but this is a well-built, stocky, sawed-off, very sturdy back that can carry the rock. He gets stronger in the fourth quarter than he is in the first, which is a staple of a Paul Chryst coached offense. He's a guy they're going to rely heavily on. But he won't be the only one, as we've come to know in Wisconsin.
Yeah, they certainly have a stable, certainly. More conference wins. Rutgers or Northwestern? Rutgers. Question.
No, I'm going to go with Rutgers. And I think because 2 of their most prominent players, including Darius Hamilton, decided to return to school.
All right. We have here the Big Ten Conference. There are some rivalries there in the Big Ten. And, oh, no, what did you do?
Is that illegal?
I don't know. It's not going to be in the next body paint issue of any magazine.
No.
But Michigan fans or students going up and defacing, painting, we should say, a Spartan statue.
See, I think you got to do a better job at the artwork there, all right?